Hi students, I thought I would just make a quick video resource for you all concerning my in-class exams. Thought it would be nice to have this in the modules as something you could reference. So to learn about our exams, you would go to modules in Canvas. You would scroll down through the information that we've already covered in class or that we will have covered by the time of the exam. And then you will find the information about exams. Each page here is something selectable you can open up and read about. For example, for exam 1, I have a picture of a blue book. I need you guys all to have a clean, brand new blue book. A blue book is essentially a stapled chunk of lined paper that you guys can use to write your answers on for the exam. And then it's nice and convenient to hand into me. It's all like bound together. There are a couple sizes of them. I will accept any of them, but I really prefer the one that is like standard paper size, 8.5 by 11. I don't know their exact price anymore. They're something you can purchase at the bookstore. I have also understood that you can maybe even find them in vending machines around campus. Again, I don't have that student knowledge, but I hope they're still like under $1 each, I hope. And I am suggesting that you just get 3 for our course because you will need 3 for the total of the semester, and that way you don't have to bother to go back again to the bookstore. The exams are already up for you to look at. So for exam 1, for example, you'll have 2 parts. The first part will be a compare and contrast essay, and the second part will be a longer thematic essay. I don't have word count to give you. I just have suggested times that I'm guessing you would be writing these that would make sense to write these. The compare and contrast essay, I'm going to give you about 20 minutes and I will watch the time in class and I'll let you know when you're about halfway through that and when you're done with that, when to wrap it up. And then the final thematic exam will be something that I'm hoping you at least spend about 45 minutes on. Both of them are nothing to skimp. They're not short answer. You should not be done in 5 minutes and then turn your paper in and leave. This is something that I want lots of thought and lots of your art historical information included in. The compare and contrast essay will be from 2 images that I show you as kind of like a surprise, honestly, on the day of the exam. These images will come from this list, this selective list that I put up on Canvas. So you don't have to know every single art image that we have covered in class so far. You have to, in theory, be familiar with these from each of the eras we've covered. I am asking you to first name them, give me the culture or style that they're in, and then the general dates that I have listed here on this list. So you absolutely do not have to know an exact date for any work of art. I realize that students lose that information quickly in their short-term memory, but I am kind of hoping if I require you to know kind of the era, the general dates, that might stick with you more into the future. So for example, for prehistoric art, that would be one example of a culture that you might need to mention. If I show you the nude woman, if I show you the 2 bison, if I show you the Hall of Bulls, if I show you Stonehenge, you would say that that was the title, Nude Woman, that the style or culture was prehistoric art, and that the general dates was 30,000 BCE to 1600 BCE. So you need to know this general date for these 4 works of art. You need to know this general date for these works of art, this general date for these works of art, and this general date for these works of art. I hope that's not too overwhelming. Again, you will get points for whatever you can remember, whatever you can write down. So if you cannot remember those, you'll still get points for, say, giving me the title or the culture. In fact, those are more important to me. So you just do your best and know that whatever you do put down, you will get points for. So from this selected list, I will pull 2 images, hint, hint, most likely from one culture versus a different culture. And I'll ask you guys to compare and contrast them. So you want to tell me information, of course, that's visual, like this one is blue and this one is green, this one has a man, this one has a dog, stuff like that. But really what I'm going to be looking for, right, is the art historical information. So you're going to want to explain the culture that it comes from. You're going to explain, say, the function of the artwork if you know it, where maybe it was found or located, if that's important information. And then you're going to want to show me how the imagery, the subject matter, and the style is reflective of the typical kind of subject matter and cultural concerns of that culture that you're discussing. So again, try not to skimp. Try to think of everything you can possibly think of. Please treat me not as the professor that knows the topic inside and out, but as a novice who knows nothing, and you have to completely explain it to me. This is your opportunity, right, to show me what you have learned. And even if you have this information in your head, I can't know it unless you give it to me on paper. So be sure to just kind of take a deep breath, think about everything you know and have learned, and do your best to give that to me. Again, you will get points for all the things you do remember, and you will hopefully have a good, rich answer when you're done with those 20 minutes. Think of everything you can think of, and that's part one. The second part is the longer thematic essay, and I already have those guys up for you. They're all up for you on Canvas already for every exam that I have. So here's where you get to work at home a bit and prepare what you might talk about. So I hope you can see that I have two, but it is a choose one essay. So look at both of them, see which one seems more fun for you to talk about, write about, and then choose one. So you'll be writing one compare and contrast essay for about 20 minutes in class and one thematic essay for about 45 minutes in class. Read those over. We can talk about them a bit in class, and I can give you some jumping off points. I'm always going to ask you to support your answer with specific example artworks. So again, think of artworks from the periods that we have covered that you like, that makes sense with the topic. The first example is talking about how the human figure looks in art through the different cultures we've learned in class so far. So that means you would pick out your favorite example of a human figure in the prehistoric era, in the ancient Near Eastern era, in the Egyptian era, and the Aegean era. You'd want to name them as best you can, and then you'd want to describe them, explain them, and tell me how they are an example of that culture. Again, consider the medium, consider the function, consider the location, consider like why the people are using it, why they made it, who was it for, who did it benefit, like why did they make the figure look that way. Use your art terms, people. Remember, I like it so much more if you use, say, hierarchical scale or in, column or, relief sculpture. If you use those art words that hopefully we have learned in class, that is awesome and showing your skill. So once again, you prepare this at home with all your good thoughts, but both essay, that is the compare and contrast, and the final thematic essay is all something you will write in class during our class period without any notes or brought in paperwork. So that means you're going to have to really prepare before you come and then be ready to sit down and work. I suggest to students two different things. One, for your essay, for example, maybe make an outline. Think of the different works you're going to talk about, jot them down, and then think about the key points and, flush that out on a piece of paper for yourself and kind of memorize it. And then when you get into class, you can think about that outline and then you can make it into a real essay with full sentences. Another way is to write the essay out completely at home, practice it completely, fully with the full sentences, and then, try your best to recreate that when you're sitting in class. I realize it's a timed essay. I realize you won't have any notes. I will, of course, grade with some grace for that. I will not mark off for spelling, although I should have a little spelling help list on the back of the exam for you to kind of jog your memory. I will not mark off for crossouts or arrows or little bullet points that said, oh, I forgot to say this. Again, I'm just interested in the information and the good content first and foremost. I do want you to try to write in some paragraphs. So please do my eyes a favor and don't make your writing one big chunk of text. Please, when you talk about a new work of art, when you talk about a new culture, indent and write a new paragraph. That's really good, proper essay format. For that final essay, that thematic essay, I am not expecting a huge intro paragraph and a huge conclusion. You can just say something like, I am about to write now about how the human figure looked in the cultures that we have discussed in class. And that can be enough of an intro. Go into your paragraphs with your different works of art that are examples, and then maybe end it with something like, so as you can see, the human figure really developed in different ways, through the eras of our class that we've learned so far. So I hope that helps you to free you up to not worry so much about the craft of writing with big intro and conclusion paragraphs. But of course, good writing does usually have a little bit of an intro and a little bit of a summing up. So don't forget those entirely. All of this can be discussed even further with me in class in person, but I hope this is a nice start to help understand the format of my exams. And I want everyone to feel confident that they absolutely can do this. I've been doing this in this format for years, and people survive and people live through it and people do great. So just don't forget that you really do need to prepare. You need to bring your empty, already written in blue book and your good brain and your good thinking and your deep breaths, your confidence, and prepare to be in class and really think about everything you know and give me all that information, and try not to whip through it in 5 minutes. So I look forward to answering any more questions you have in person, and have a great day.